So I want to recommend another Soviet movie, and this is a piece of work that's based on a very famous literary piece of work as well. It is this movie, it is pronounced as Stalker in Russian, but obviously in English it's going to sound like Stalker. And it is based on a book by the brothers Strugatsky. The book is called The Roadside Picnic, or Picnic on a Roadside. It is novella, I would say. It's not even a novel. It's a little bit on the shorter side. And the book is pretty great, and so is the movie. The movie is based kind of loosely on the book. It actually happens in the same universe. It's not necessarily following the plot of the book. And this book and this movie, they're pretty brilliant because they can be interpreted from so many different angles. And I think that this is a great example of a literary piece of work that sparks a lot of discussion, and so does the movie. It is unusual. It is original. It actually requires, I believe, multiple viewing. I don't think upon a first viewing you are going to be able to fully form an opinion, because it gives you so much. It's so heavy in symbolism. The dialogues are so intricate. They're so interesting. The characters are amazing. The actors did such a great job depicting all of these different social vices and virtues, mostly vices. Strugatsky were kind of cynical. They were very critical of a lot of the things that they were observing in the Soviet Union and in the world. But this work generally, it talks about universal truths. It's not talking necessarily about the Soviet Union. It is not necessarily criticizing the Soviet Union only. The book actually provides quite good criticism for capitalism, because the setting of the book is in Canada, in capitalist Canada. And of course, their depiction of capitalist Canada was probably not very accurate, but it is a dystopia, right? It is about the future. It is about possible alien contact. The aliens themselves are not present. It doesn't really matter whether aliens actually came to Earth. What matters is what they left behind. I'm not going to spoil too much, because I really encourage everyone to watch this movie and to read this piece of work as well, because they're so enriching. When you read them, you really are stimulated to think. You're stimulated to think not only about what's happening in the book, but about the current events as well. Even though it was published way back when, it is still very, very relevant to what is happening today, because again, just as I said before, it touches upon universal human vices and questions that humanity has been asking itself about what a person truly desires. It is a very interesting take on a genie type of a scenario. The movie specifically is much more focused around this place where you can fulfill your wishes, your desires, your utmost wishes and desires, not something that you think you want, but what your heart truly craves. So it is a very, very thought-provoking type of a narrative. And from the book, I'm going to give you just a couple of little bits because, again, I don't want to spoil it. It is about a title itself, because Roadside Picnic is a reference that one of the characters makes towards the end of the book when they're discussing this aftermath of the aliens coming to Earth. And one of the characters is saying that, imagine a roadside picnic. Imagine people coming to a picnic to an area, and then they stay there overnight, and then they leave. And what is going to be left behind? What is going to be left after? Maybe some equipment, maybe some other remnants of human activity. And imagine the animals taking a hold of some of this equipment. Imagine some monkeys taking some of that human equipment and just thinking, what is it? Whatever this is for. I wonder if it's some kind of alien advanced technology. And then maybe they're going to do something with this equipment, with this remnants of human activity. So this, I think, was a very brilliant proposition that Strugatsky made, because I personally have never thought of this. What if the aliens do visit the Earth, and what if they leave something behind, but it doesn't actually have any meaning? It's not a message to us. It's just some trash that they leave behind. And I found this so hilarious and so clever. And I think that this is really something for us to ponder upon, because we as humanity have this overinflated sense of self. We think that we're so important, we're so brilliant, we're so amazing, and everybody cares about us. But what if the aliens come and they don't care about us as a species at all? They think we're so insignificant, they don't even notice us. We're just some indigenous species to this planet, and they don't care to communicate to us because we have not reached reached their level of development. So I find this really can spark a great discussion of the importance of humanity as a whole and our significance in the universe, because let's face it, we're not very significant in the universe, and a lot of our activity actually is harmful to us, but it may not, in the grand scheme of things, really matter. So I think this book does provide quite an unusual perspective. I'm not very well versed in alien type of narratives because I've never been very interested in this type of science fiction, but the movie was actually created in collaboration with brothers Strugatsky. The director, Tarkovsky, he's so famous. He's one of the most beloved science fiction directors from the Soviet Union. And the scenario for this movie has been rewritten time and time again because Tarkovsky was not happy. He kept on pushing Brother Strugatsky. He kept on pushing and pushing and pushing until they actually admitted in their later interviews they were driven to the point of hysterics because they could not really understand what it is he wanted from them. But in the state of agitation and hysterics, as they called it, they wrote one more draft, and finally Tarkovsky was satisfied, and this was the draft that was made into this movie, and it does reinterpret some of the pieces. It does reinterpret the book greatly. It focuses on very different themes, but it still is in the same universe, and it preserves many of these philosophical questions about the nature of man, the nature of humankind, questions about what it is we truly desire, just as I said before. So I really highly recommend both the movie and the book. The movie, again, I do suggest you watch at least 3 times because there are so many beautiful, amazing elements. Personally, when I first viewed it, upon my first 2 viewings, I was so engrossed in the imagery. It is a beautiful movie. It has been restored fairly recently, I believe. So, and in this restoration, I think they were able to capture some of the key features of the original. And it is so beautiful. It is so serene. Even though the setting is supposed to be more ominous and dangerous, I think it was so beautiful. I just felt very calm as I was watching the beginning, especially the first part of the movie. I felt very calm, and it put me in an almost meditative state. So I had a hard time following the plot and what the characters were saying. And this is the second element that I think is very important to pay attention to, the dialogue. The way the characters interact, what they talk about, and how their dialogue progresses. Because some of these dialogues, they really annoyed me. I felt like I hated, for example, the character of the author. I thought he was so cynical and just so silly, but it was all intentional. It was part of this character's development, and as it unfolds, as the story unfolds, and as you see what happens to him later, you realize that, oh wow, this is not just this cynical person, it is this particular worldview that many of us may share in. And look at the conclusion. It is not very exciting. It's kind of anticlimactic. The conclusion is very anticlimactic generally. It leaves more questions than it answers. But I think it was a brilliant, brilliant depiction of interaction of people when they are put in very unusual circumstances and when they know that they are on the brink of something important. And the way they talk and the way they interact is not only done to convey the mood, it is also done to relate to us all of these important questions, again, about our humanity, about what it is we truly want. And it is questioning a lot of the virtues of the modern world as well. In the scientist character, for example, to whom I related the most because I thought he was the most sensible, but then his conclusion is also very, very telling, I believe. I think that he makes the right decision in the end. It is a question of control and whether you single-handedly can decide for the rest of humanity. And the character of the Stalker himself, I think, is very, very meticulously done. He's very multidimensional. He has so many interesting features about him. He is also this archetypal character. He conveys this helplessness and religious hope towards somebody bigger than yourself coming and rescuing humanity. and he's very fearful of what humanity would do to itself if it is left to its own devices. So I think all of these characters are so brilliantly depicted. I really, really highly recommend this movie. I'm sure it has been translated into English. I will search and hopefully I will find some decent versions, but I do recommend you watch it a few times. You read the book, you compare the two. These are very worthwhile pieces of work, and it is surrounded by mystery and tragedy as well. They filmed this movie in some places that were not very safe in Estonia, I believe. This area surrounded some production, some chemical production, and unfortunately, many of the people who participated in the creation of the movie later had cancer, and many of them died because of this cancer. And it is believed in some circles that it was that setting, it was that place where they filmed. So it is a little bit ironic in a macabre sense, in a sinister sense, that they were creating a movie about the zone, about this dangerous place that the aliens supposedly created. And the people who participated in the movie actually ended up getting affected so negatively. So yeah, there is a little bit of an element of mystery in here as well. So let me know if you read the book or watched the movie, or if you're planning to do that. Consider support me on Patreon. Do take care of yourself and your community first. Subscribe to me on all the socials, even though I don't really do much there. I hope you have a great day today, and I'll talk to you sometime later.